I'm going to give everyone a few minutes to trickle in before we get started. Hey, everyone. I'm going to give people maybe a minute or two more to tune in, but in the meantime, if you could put where you are joining from and what you teach in the chat. I am joining from Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm curious to see where y'all are from, though. I see we have someone's joining from the UK, California, Montana, Indiana, Kentucky, Chicago, Virginia, Florida. We're all over the place. Look at this. South Carolina, Las Vegas. Look at that. And a lot of different subjects too. It's awesome. Yeah, go Canes. Yeah, I can. Go Canes. NC State fan. That's awesome. All right. Let's see. All right. Well, I think I'm going to get started now. Um, Thank you guys so much for joining me. This student Quizlet demo session is to go over how I, a high school student, use Quizlet to make my studying as productive as possible. So I'll give you a sneak peek into my workflow, followed by a live demo of me using various features that Quizlet offers. So I want to preface this by saying that this session will be recorded and available on Zoom events for 1 month from today. And after that, they will be on Quizlet's YouTube channel. Also, information about PD certificates will be emailed to you after the event. So please keep an eye out for them tomorrow. But before we jump in, I want to introduce myself. My name is Andy, and I'm about to go into senior year in high school at Ravenscroft, which is an independent school in Raleigh, North Carolina. To give you a little background about me and my interests, I'm looking to major in business, specifically in management consulting. I've played tennis since I was 4 years old, and I've been on the varsity tennis team since 8th grade. I also play pickleball and golf in my free time. I picked up pickleball a few years ago. It's a lot of fun. But outside of school, I own and operate 3 Etsy shops, one of which I opened in middle school, and the other two I started a couple of years ago. I've always had an entrepreneurial mindset. So my favorite class is either economics, which I took AP microeconomics last year, and will take AP macroeconomics this year, which I'm really excited for. Or I also really enjoyed AP Lang because writing is also one of my passions. But I've been a Quizlet user since middle school. So for about 6 years, going on 7. So I'm excited to give you a behind the scenes of my studying. So now I want to go over the agenda for this session. So I'll first discuss my study habits, like what works for me and what doesn't, and to give you some context of what type of student I am. Next, I'll go over how I use Quizlet specifically, like what classes I use it for and how it works for me personally. Then finally, I'll give you a live demonstration of me using Quizlets and its features. And finally, at the very end, I will, if I have time, answer any questions that you guys may have for me. And please keep in mind that although I've been using Quizlet for a while, for about 6 years now, I'm not an expert on this product. So if you do have any questions about a specific feature, I may not be able to answer it, but I will certainly try to answer it to the best of my ability. And also please use the Q&A feature instead of the chat feature. That'll just help us behind the scenes. But now I'm going to jump into talking about some of my study habits. So for every subject, I study alone first to grasp kind of all the concepts to the best of my ability, depending on a few different things. So I always like to focus in and study on my own instead of having my friends distract me. But then once I kind of get those concepts down, that's when I'll eventually go and study with my friends. Um, I also prepare about 2 to 3 days in advance for most quizzes and tests. And um, for exams, I usually study about 2 weeks in advance. Now, I won't lie to you that doesn't always happen. I do procrastinate sometimes, which doesn't always help, but it doesn't happen too often. So especially now that I've been in the mood, it happened a lot more in middle school. And I do want to say sorry to my English teacher because I do procrastinate on studying for his quizzes the most. So hopefully he isn't watching this. But anyway, the best studying atmosphere for me is a private study room or an empty classroom where I can really focus and lock in on the content. I find that studying at school is the most productive for me until around 4 p.m. Then I work best at home. I know a lot of my friends listen to music while they study, and this definitely helps me for math. I usually put on some slower music like Zach Bryan, since I like country, and I've tried to put on Morgan Wallen, but I end up singing the lyrics and not focusing, so I save his music for later. But whenever I try to listen to music for any other subject, when I'm reading words and not just numbers, then I kind of get lost and confused. So instead, I put on white noise to help me focus to block out any other distractions that I may have. But after school, when I get home, I usually exercise. And if I have time, of course, by either going to the gym or playing tennis to clear my mind or pickleball. Once I get back, my attention span is much better and I can really focus for a longer period of time. And then I find that waking up earlier to finish studying and doing homework is more productive than me staying up late. So I usually try to go to bed around 10:30 to 11. And if I have more work, then I would usually wake up at around 5 to finish it. Typically, I get all of my work done, so this isn't a problem. But in some cases, I do opt to wake up early when my mind is fresh again. Before any assessment, I drop down or jot down important information that I struggle to remember and use it as my primary review tool. So for math, I'd write down important formulas, or for English, I'd write down important plot summaries or characters, so on and so forth. I am very fortunate that my school offers office hours every day of the week in the morning. So if I have any specific questions that my friends and I couldn't answer or figure out, then I'd stop by their office or their classroom or wherever they are and get my questions answered. And of course, if I don't have time, I will email them. I know many teachers recommend making a planner for organization. And in middle school, we were forced to do that. But I find that my Canvas to-do dashboard works great for me. I've never missed an assignment deadline, so I haven't had the need for a planner. But some of my friends use them, and it works great for them. But it's just something that's not exactly for me. So hopefully you got some insight into my study habits. And now I'm going to shift gears a little bit and explain how I use Quizlet to help with my studying. So like I said earlier, I started using Quizlet in middle school, especially for foreign language classes, English vocabulary quizzes, science tests, and history tests. And sometimes the teacher themselves would make these Quizlets and share it with us. Other times the students made them and shared it with their classmates. Now, usually it's the students making them in high school. But I utilize Quizlet the most in high school for Latin with our really, really fun weekly vocabulary quizzes. But using Quizlet, especially for this, resulted in much higher grades without a doubt, because it really saves me a lot of time since I don't have to create paper flashcards and I don't need to find someone to quiz me on the content. I can use QChat instead, which I'll talk about later. But I was able to allocate that time lost to studying more, which has definitely helped me get better grades. I've earned straight A's across all subjects in high school, so I know Quizlet has helped me save time with that, so I can really focus on my studies. But I also really like to use the Quizlet app as a final, refresher right before a test. I can easily pop on my phone, scroll through the flashcards, and use QChat to test me one last time. This app works offline for Plus users, which is very helpful because my school's Wi-Fi doesn't always work everywhere on campus. But I also find it's easiest to upload my notes on the app for the study guide feature, or previously known as Magic Notes, which I will also talk about soon in my live demo. But I also wanted to share with you guys what my Quizlet workflow looks like. So for any subject, I typically go through my flashcards first to make sure that I have a basis of the study set. Then I do the learn mode to really nail down the concepts of whatever I'm studying. And finally, I'll use QChat to quiz me. And in this case, QChat is essentially replacing a person I'd ask to quiz me on the content. So now I do want to walk through with you right now Quizlet Live so you can see the features that I utilize and kind of see my study flow in action. So I'm going to hop over to my Quizlet tab here. So, all right, so I just pulled up a Quizlet for a vocabulary quiz with terms I found in the Catcher in the Rye. For demonstration purposes, I added 5 of the words to this set as an example. So first, I'm going to go over the flashcards feature, which is in the top left here. So I view each vocab word on the front and click the card to flip over to the actual word. And I usually go through every word quickly at first, so I kind of have a basis. And then I go back to try to actually guess the word and its definition. If I'm stuck at any moment, I could just click get a hint in the top left, which has happened a lot before, and it'll give me that first part of that word. So hopefully it'll kind of jog my memory a little bit. On the flip side, if I need another definition of this word, I can just click explain this and it'll give me a new wording of the definition, which is super helpful. If I notice a mistake on the card, like a typo, I can easily and quickly edit the card in the top right corner with the pencil icon. I've had to do this a few times, especially if I make a set in a rush late at night. This is much easier than having to go back to the main page to edit it. But right next to that button is the audio sound, and it'll say the word out loud. This is extremely helpful if I come across a word that I don't know how to pronounce. And I've used that multiple times in Latin before too. But next to that is the star button. So if I continue struggling on a word, I can star it. And after I review all of my flashcards, I can filter it so I only review my starred words. And I use this feature super frequently to make sure I really hone in on the tough to remember vocab. So I can click through each of these words using the arrows at the bottom. And at the very top right corner is my options button. So here I can fully customize my experience with spaced repetition, which automatically determines which words I struggle with the most. And then there's the option to track my progress. So I can tell Quizlet if I knew the word's definition or not, and if I got it wrong, and then it would continue testing me on it. So on the Quizlet app, I would just have to swipe right to say that I got it right, and then left if I got it wrong. And I usually turn on the tracking progress feature after I do a quick run through of the flashcards. But right below that is the option to study only starred items, which I mentioned before. Below are some more features to customize how the cards show up, along with text to speech. And sometimes if I want to start from scratch, maybe because I looked at these flashcards a while ago and don't want to pick up where I left off, I can click restart flashcards and it will bring me right back to the beginning. At the bottom here, with this play button, I sometimes want to automatically play these flashcards through. And right next to that is the shuffle button, which I use a lot when studying, so I don't memorize an order of the words and the definitions. So now that's kind of how the flashcard feature works. I want to take you through the learn feature, which is what I always use next after flashcards. So I'll pull it up here. It is in the top corner. It's right next to flashcards. They're all right here. So I'll click on the Learn feature. And first, when I click the Options button here, let me restart so that you can see the normal initial first screen that pops up. So what pops up first are some questions about how I want to study the set. So if I'm only reviewing this for a homework assignment, then I'll click Quickly Study because I wouldn't need in-depth knowledge of this content. But if I'm studying for a test, which is usually what I'm using Quizlet for, then I click Memorize It All. Then it asks me how much of the content I know. After the flashcards, I usually say I know some of it. If I'm coming back to learn right before a test, then hopefully I'd say I know most of it, hopefully. But for now, I'm going to say I know some of it. And then all I have to do is click Start Learn. And now it'll give me some multiple choice options to start off. This is a good way for me to slowly get into learning the words and the definitions. It'll tell me if I got it right or wrong, and it will remember that, which is shown at the top progress bar up here. It'll move me to writing out the definition if I got it right or if I got it wrong, and I'll see another multiple choice query later on if I did in fact get it wrong. So let's say I don't know the correct word for this definition, and I say this is, let's go with this one. This one obviously is wrong, and it lets me know that I'm wrong, and it will track that progress that I didn't get any right yet in the top bar. Now, let's say I see this definition, and I really don't know what word this could be. Now, it doesn't really do me any good right now to just guess like I did in the last question. So what I can do instead is click on the Don't Know button, and it shows me the correct answer. Now, obviously, it doesn't count any as correct because I didn't know, but it'll remember that I didn't know the correct definition for this word, and it will quiz me on it later. Similar to the flashcards, I can click the audio feature in this top left corner to say the definition aloud, which is helpful sometimes, especially if it's the word. And under the options button, I can study only my starred items. I can shuffle terms, and I can play sound effects, which usually I don't want to. They distract me a little bit. But then below that, I can customize my experience. So maybe I'm feeling confident and I don't want the multiple choice questions. I'll just toggle that off, and now I will only be quizzed on the writing portion. But I'm just going to keep it at both of these. Now, Quizlet used to have two separate features, writing and spell mode. I personally like Learn better, so I don't use them. But if someone wanted to, they could access them here. If you've been using Quizlet for a while, you may remember when these were the options. But under that are some more customization features that I often use. So maybe I don't want to be quizzed on the word or on the definition, vice versa. I can just toggle these on and off and start studying. And I can also edit if I want Quizlet to use its smart grading feature. So essentially, if I type in a definition that isn't exactly word for word, but it's close enough, Quizlet will count it as correct with this feature. So maybe I need to know the definition verbatim. Then I'd switch this off. Because this feature only looks at similar wording. So you may provide an accurate definition, but it may count it wrong because it's not the one that you used on the flashcard. So in this case, I would use QChat, which I'm about to go over next, because it will tell you if the definition that I create is accurate. But before we jump into QChat, I'll finish up going through some of these features. In your options, I'll go back here really quick. You have the text-to-speech feature and the option to restart Learn as well. Now, I'm going to go through some of this just so you can kind of see my flow and my thought process of going through a study set. Like I said, this is only 5 words, but I thought I may as well show you how I go through a study set. So I'll just kind of zoom through this. It'll show me that I'm getting them correct at the top bar. Show me which ones that I might not get correct. And it remembered that I did not get this one correct, so it says, let's try again. Now I know. And it also knew that I got this one incorrect before as well. So in this case, this is swanky. And then after I do the multiple choice, it will quiz me on me actually typing in the word. So maybe I don't know it and I need a hint. I can click show a hint and it's an I. Maybe this will jog my memory and I'll know that this is incognito. And it'll tell me that that's correct. It keeps my progress bar at the top to let me know that I'm almost done. And lastly, so now you saw kind of like my flow through just a very quick learn. At the end, a congratulations screen will pop up. And at this point, I'll know if I'm ready to move on to QChat. But if I'm not, I can always click practice more, or I can take a practice test by clicking take a practice test. But now I'm going to head over to the QChat button. This is by far my most favorite feature in Quizlet when they added it fairly recently. I wish I had this for middle school, honestly. But once I know the definitions and words, but I do really want to grasp the understanding of them, then Quizlet or QChat is the key to that. So my English teacher requires us to write a sentence using the vocab word with context. Usually I have to test out a sentence, go to him or a parent and see if it works. But instead now I can just use QChat. So all I have to do is go over to ask a question on the right-hand side and just ask it, please quiz me on using the vocab words in a sentence with adequate context. Then it'll ask me, here's a sentence. The incognito celebrity arrived at the swanky event wearing a lavish frock, hoping to avoid the putrid smell. So it used almost all the words in my set. Can you try creating a sentence using one of the words from the set? So let's say I don't exactly know the definition of putrid. Maybe I think that's a good thing. So maybe I'll say the putrid scent of the candle attracted customers. QChat will let me know that that's a good effort, but it's not quite right. Putrid usually has a negative connotation, meaning that it's something rotten or unpleasant. So then I can edit my sentence and say, okay, the putrid smell of the rotten eggs made people leave. Then in this case, it will let me know that I actually forgot to type in scent. And it let me know that. I didn't even mean to do that, but I meant to say the putrid scent of the rotten eggs made people leave, but it caught the error in the sentence because I didn't exactly use the part of speech correctly. So let me try this one last time. Hopefully I remember to add in the putrid scent of the rotten eggs made people leave. Now, in this case, it'll let me know that is finally a correct answer. Now, that's just one feature that I use for QChat. I can ask it to quiz me on the words, and if I give a definition that's not quite the one that I provided, but it's correct, then it would tell me. So all I have to do is click the quiz me section on right on this little bar side here, and it will quiz me like, what's the definition of lavish? So maybe instead of the word for word definition that I put in, I'll say something like very rich and luxurious. It'll come back and say that that's correct, even though it's not exactly verbatim the thing that I put in the Quizlet study set. It just knows, it uses AI to know that that is another definition that is correct. And it'll also let me know if this is incorrect as well. So if I say that incognito, that means telling yourself about the world. It'll obviously tell me that that is not correct, and it means to have one's identity concealed to avoid notice or formal attention. So it'll take that actual definition from the study set and let me know that that's the right one. Now, another feature that you can use is the apply my knowledge. And I don't use this frequently for vocab words or quizzes, but I do use it for other study sets, such as history or physics, where I want to make sure I understand the full context around the topic. I can also ask QChat to teach me words, which is also on this right-hand side. And it'll provide context to give me some background before I start studying. So I've used this for Latin before, and it does a great job of giving me some context. Usually, it'll just give me a rundown of those vocabulary words. So I kind of have that basis knowledge. So I just showed you typically how I use Quizlet, but now I want to show you some other features that I don't use as much, but I think are pretty cool and I use them on occasion. One of them being the test feature. So the test feature is at the top here. It'll automatically create a test based on my Quizlet deck. So I can customize options here to determine the amount of questions I want, what the question type is, etc. So right here, the max is 5 questions because I only have 5 terms, but say I had 20, then I can ask up to 20 questions. I can quiz me on either the term, definition, or both. I'm going to keep it at term for this one. Maybe I want true, false questions, maybe matching or written. I'm going to select both true, false, and multiple choice for this demonstration. But now once I start a test, it will automatically, in under a second, pull up some questions. So does swanky mean sumptuously rich, elaborate, or luxurious? Let's say I think that's lavish. I'm going to say false. For putrid, is that wretchedly bad, unpleasant, or unsatisfactory, miserable? I'm going to say true. And just kind of go through this. Now, this is something I think is really cool. Notice how there's some other words here, like anonymous, and some others that weren't in my set. What Quizlet will do is they will pull similar words from my set and input them into the test so that I actually know the definition of the word and I don't just know the word based in the context of my other vocabulary words on the set. So I think this is really cool. And it has definitely helped me nail down these words a lot better. And this one I believe is swanky. So now I'm going to submit my test and a congratulations screen will pop up. What's really cool is that I can print this test out if I want. I can take a new test, review flashcards, and it'll tell me my rundown of my correct answers on the side. Again, I don't use this as often as I used to like in middle school. Usually I just use the learn, but I know a lot of my friends use this feature and they find it super helpful. So I also want to show you one more feature on here at the top, which is the match game. And I used to use this a lot more in middle school when I needed more of a fun reason to study. But you have to match all the terms to their definitions. And if you get any wrong terms, then it'll add extra time. So it's just kind of a speed game. You need to make sure that you know these very fast. So I'm going to just do a quick little game demonstration here. So putrid, I know is wretchedly bad, unpleasant, but let's say I don't know what one is. Let's say I think incognito is a gown. It'll tell me that's wrong and add some time onto my counter. So I'm just going to go through these quickly, and then it will score me. And now a leaderboard just came up. And I can compete with friends if I send them this exact set. If I'm feeling extra special, I could share my score and brag to friends. The score isn't one I'd necessarily brag about though at 22 seconds, but if I do it a few more times, then maybe I can get that faster. But I just went through a quick run through of these features and how I use them. And I want to show you another feature that I use for all my classes, one of the most exciting features in my opinion, which is called Study Guide, or formerly known as Magic Notes. So I just have to click Generate, then Study Guide, and here I am. I can upload my notes that I took in class, and Quizlet will automatically synthesize it and create a study set. So you can also paste in your notes, or it's really cool as upload a YouTube video. I'm going to show you that soon because I think that's one of the coolest features on here. But right now, I'm going to show you how it works. So for reference, I will pull up the original Google Doc of my notes that I'm going to upload. This is for physics. And what Quizlet will do is it will keep important information, cut redundant information, and make it more simple. So I just made these notes in physics through chapters. A lot of this is repetitive. It's kind of clunky to review. But what I can do is upload this either from Google Drive or a file. What I'm going to do is upload this from a file since I saved it as a PDF, and click Open. And now I just have to click Start Transforming. I'll just add a course tag for organization. So for this class, this is physics. I can view the study guide. What's really cool is that I have all of my files up here, and it really just condensed these notes a lot. And this is just super, super helpful. This is way less lengthy than what I had before, and it didn't cut down any important information. It also generates something called discussion questions, and this is especially useful for you teachers. Not necessarily for me, since I usually wouldn't need to create discussion questions, but based on what you upload, it will generate these questions for you and give you the difficulty of how hard Quizlet thinks this question is. So they give you about 6 for each one. Then what's really cool, what I found super useful, is that it can automatically create flashcards based off of this set. So I've used this exactly for this document for physics. This would have taken me at least 30 minutes, but I did it in under a minute, under really 30 seconds. And it will pull important information from that document and create flashcards off of it. And I can do the learn feature, test feature, match feature, and even Q chat if I scroll back up. But I think that's a really cool feature that I want to show you guys. And what's even cooler is uploading a YouTube video to this. So this is same thing, going to generate a study guide, and I can paste a YouTube link into this, and it will take notes based off of that YouTube video. So as an example, I'm going to use Jacob Clifford, my favorite economics teacher, talking about the elasticity of demand. All I have to do is copy this link, this YouTube link, go back to Quizlet, paste that link in, and it automatically knows what video it's talking about. I click Start Transforming, and in the matter of seconds, oh, here, let me just put in that this is for AP Microeconomics. In the matter of seconds, it will generate notes based off of that video. So it takes the transcript of the YouTube video and automatically generates it into notes. And this is a huge time saver, huge time saver. I really love this feature. I wish I knew about it sooner. And it will tell me exactly all the main topics, all the definitions, everything that I need to know from that video without me even watching it. That was only a 6-minute video, but this could be super helpful for like a 45-minute video before students are studying for AP exams. And again, it'll give you some discussion questions. So this can be useful for you teachers. If you have a good video that you want to generate some stuff on for your students, put this right in and it'll give you and shoot out that information. Now, you can also show an example answer of what would be correct for your students. But then again, even cooler, I can click flashcards and it will automatically create the flashcards for this set. So it'll ask me, what does elasticity mean? And it says shows the sensitivity of quantity to price change. And it pulled that all from the video. So that's definitely one of my favorite features. But that was just kind of my quick run through of how I use Quizlet. So I hope you guys learned something from that. I have about 5 minutes for answering Q&A or any questions you guys may have. Again, if I don't know the answer, then I'll let you know. I think there's also a moderator in the chat to help me with that. But if you don't know an answer, please email unconference_2024@quizlet.com, and they will help answer your question. But now let me just stop my share for a second and pull up our Q&A section. And please use the Q&A feature instead of the chat feature for this. That'll be super helpful. Let's see. I just have a couple minutes for Q&A. So if there are any Q&A, I'm happy to answer that. Is it possible to get your presentation? Yes, and this will be recorded and on YouTube in about a month, so you can access this recording as well. And oh, and thank you guys. Thank you so much for having me here. I appreciate all the love in the comments. And let's see. Can handwritten notes be uploaded? That is a good question. I have not tried handwritten notes. So I would ask our moderator email unconference_2024@quizlet.com for that. And let's see. What is your opinion on how a teacher should assess a student's activity on Quizlet? I think Quizlet is a really good tool, mainly for the student, maybe not something that a teacher could kind of view progress on. I'm not exactly sure how a student could do that, and I'm sure our moderator could help answer that as well. I usually use this for my personal studying, and teachers share out some Quizlet links studying before test. So they can kind of know if you reviewed their Quizlet, if you did well on their test or not, but there might be a way for teachers to know if a student went through it. I would ask our moderator email unconference_2024@quizlet.com. And then do your teachers use YouTube videos in their lessons? Do they quiz you on the content? So that depends. Sometimes my teachers don't necessarily use YouTube videos to teach me, but they use it as a supplemental resource. So they may share some YouTube videos with us and say, hey, if you're still struggling on this topic, then please watch these videos and let me know if you have any questions. So sometimes if I'm still struggling on topic, I will watch those YouTube videos, and that'll usually help clear up anything. All right, and I think running out of time now, but I want to thank all of you for watching, and I will see you guys soon if you stick around for the student panel. So I'm going to hand it back over to our moderator to move on to our next session, but thank you guys so much.